Good morning. Let's see, let me just, get my stuff. There's not enough room for notes and papers and things, All right. Let's see what I have next. Let's go to that. So a walloping list of goofy camp songs, I feel like if I'm going to put that in my bio, I really need to start with that. And I know a lot of them, but I'm not going to sing them for you because who already booed me? After this is over, if you want, I'll do another one for you. So how many folks, just so I get a sense of the room for a minute, went to camp? Oh, look at that. You are my people. How about sleepaway camp? Actually went to sleepaway camp? Yes. All right, so here, listen. The thing about sleepaway camp and songs is that you probably know this song, but you probably don't know it the way I do because you know what happens with camp, right? The songs get passed down, they're changed a little bit. But this is a repeat after me song. This is a repeat after me song. Excellent, here we go. Flee. Flee. Flee, fly. Flee, fly. Flee, fly, flow. Amalama, kumalama, kumala, viste. No, 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 not the viste. You sound so good. Amalama, kumala, viste. 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 Eeny, meeny, dissalini, ua, amalini. Acha, kumaracha, ooh. Ich biblioten don't be baten, dooten dot, why not, and whoosh. Thank you. All right. See, you might have just thought that was a goofy camp song, right? Okay, it is. But I actually think it channels what it means to be a good mentor. Right? It's like somebody who can cajole you into doing something that you didn't think you wanted to do or you didn't think you'd be good at. Someone who gives you a little nudge, and then you do it, and you're like, hey, I could do that. And so I have, to me, camp songs, camp, right, is a big part of how I even explain who I am. But camp songs are really a way of gathering and a way of camp environment is that space of nudge. So it's kind of funny, actually, that I've been asked to talk about mentoring because, first of all, usually if I'm asked to speak about the things that were in my bio, right, to talk about my work, which is usually around kids and media literacy. I'm not usually talking about, me. But when I started to think about this, one of the interesting things to me in pondering it is I don't think I ever really had a mentor. I don't think I was open to it. I was someone who always thought that having a mentor, I always saw that as really a sign of weakness, to ask for help that way. And when I think back, come on, that's my 6th grade picture I share with you. I was the kid who was always, I can do it myself. Right? I can do it myself. And the fact that we have a lot of camp people here, and you're here at 8:30 in the morning, leads me to think you are those kinds of people also. But that idea of, being able to, let me go back. What happened here? That idea of asking for help and having somebody give feedback to me, I just didn't think was something I wanted to do. I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to figure it out myself. I wanted to get it wrong myself. Even if it was going to be harder, even if I was going to make mistakes, I didn't really understand the value of asking somebody for help in that way. But as I got older, right, I looked up to people. I definitely had people that I looked up to, and people that I admired, people that could have mentored me if I'd asked, but I didn't, right? I never asked. I just kind of admired from a distance. And I didn't really understand that watching someone do the thing that they do and me admiring them is not the same as meeting with that person and having them care about the thing that I do. That it would really be about me, not about them. I didn't really understand that. And I don't think I really got the full I don't think I've really fully understood it. You might think like I got it by the time I was in my 20s, but no, I really don't think I did. I don't think I really got it until I had a child, until I had a daughter. And I had a daughter who was I can do it myself daughter, because karma is a bitch, right? And then, she wanted to do it herself, and I found myself having to say, hey, listen, her name's Zoe. She's actually 24 now. That's an old picture. But when she was doing that, and she was really young, when she started to show that she wanted to do this herself, it's like, I love this, that you want to be strong, and you want to be able to be independent, and you want to try. But you can also ask for help. You can do both, and it's not a sign of weakness. And I'm spouting all this off as like the parent, right, doing this whole thing. And they hear this coming out of my mouth, and I'm like, oh, big life aha moment. Like, I should be listening to this. Why am I, it's so right. Like, why am I limiting that? Why am I seeing it as weakness? I was so afraid that somebody would see me as not capable and not competent, that by not asking for help, I actually didn't get to do some of the things that I would have wanted to do, or that I might have needed help accomplishing, right? I wasn't ready to do that. But I like to think that I have gotten better as time has gone by. I've gotten a little less stubborn, more open. I've become a better mentee, and there's really, there's nothing that'll make you a better mentor than understanding what it means to be a mentee, right? The person who's looking for that. And I was really fortunate that there were some people in my life who mentored me, even though I didn't ask for it, right? That just were like, you should try this, or, sort of help me along, even though I never recognized it even as being a mentor relationship. But in the weird twist that life makes, I'm now in a classroom. So I spent most of my career working in actually I can't say that. I can almost say it. Now it's like a 50-50 split. As I'm getting older, like the balance is shifting. But I spent a good chunk of my professional life as a producer and working in television, and then came to academia. Now we're maybe about the same time that I've been in both of those things. But I'm in a situation now where I have this like endless supply of people to mentor, right? That are with me all the time. And there's really, watching how they interact with me and what they need from me has keyed me into what it means to be a mentor in a different way. And I know that a carelessly spoken negative comment can really derail a person's belief in themselves forever, right? A parent who just sort of offhandedly says, yeah, you're not really too good at that. Or a teacher who says, I don't think that's a career for you. Or a friend who says, are you sure you want to go for that? Right? I have a loop in my head for every one of those things. Do you? Have like that loop that plays? So I invite you today to really think about that. A moment that really called for somebody to give you support, to cheer you on, to encourage you, but instead focus on the problem, on the depth of the challenge that you would face, or on the way it would impact them. Not a good mentor, right? But I also know how easily one authentically supportive sentence can lift someone up and be a totally different loop in your head that can also play over and over and over again. So think of that time too, the time a person said to you, you should try, right? One of the most wonderful things I've done in my life was volunteer for a camp. So I went to sleepaway camp for many years, could talk about that forever. But when I got older and I couldn't go to sleepaway camp, I volunteered at a camp that it was for kids and families that were affected by HIV and AIDS. But the way I found out about the camp was it was a piece on 60 Minutes. So I was home watching TV, watching this piece about Birch Family Camp, and they were telling a story on these kids at camp and what this experience they're having in the summers. I'm like crying. And my husband said to me, you should do that. And I said, do that? It's like, yeah, you should do that. And I'd never been around sick kids. I knew nothing really about AIDS other than really what it was. I just knew camp, and I knew what I was seeing. And the next day I called, this is actually this little side story here, but the next day, okay, because you couldn't go on the internet then, because there was no internet, so I had to call information and get the phone number for 60 Minutes. I am really dating myself here. And then I called 60 Minutes and said, you did a story last night, and the operator went, Birch Family Camp? And I was like, yes. She said, yeah, this is how you get in touch with them. And I got in touch with them, and I had an interview, and blah, 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 blah. And then I ended up at camp that summer. And one of the first things they did during orientation is they had everybody sit, as we do at camp, as you all, my people, know, do big get-to-know-you games. So we sat in some big circle, and everybody had to stand up and say how they heard about the camp and why they were there. So the first person stood up and said, oh, well, I was watching 60 Minutes, and I thought I would try to do this for summer. And then the second person stood up and said, oh, I was watching 60 Minutes, blah, blah, blah. Third, there were like 200 of us in the room. So, the first 5 people was like, oh, that's so quaint and interesting that we were all watching 60 Minutes. And then, the 50th person, and then the 75th person, and the 120th person. Every single person stood up and said that. It was like a February, winter evening. We were all home in our respective lives, and something happened on TV that made us say, I want to do that. I want to give my time to that. And I ended up doing that for 13 years. It was an amazing, I remember the first summer that I went, somebody during orientation said, I wait all year for this 1 week. And I was like, oh my God, get a life. What do you, all year for 1 week? And then, the next year went, I cannot wait to go back to Birch Camp. So it was a pivotal thing. The camp is a pivotal thing to me. So back to our Bill Murray here. So this idea of trying something, that was my husband, right? My husband who said, you could do that. Literally just an offhanded comment. And I went to camp. I'll just say I went to Birch Camp for a few years. You can tell I love to talk about camp. Went to Birch Camp for a few years. Then I had my child. I had my daughter, Zoe. And I was like, well, I still want to go back to camp. And the camp was for families. So as long as a child in the family was HIV positive, the whole family unit got to go up to camp. And the kids went to this part of camp, and the adults went to that part. So there were infants there. So I was like, she was 6 months old. I was like, well, she's going to camp. I went to camp when I was 6 months old. She's going to camp. So she came with me. She would sleep in the cabin with me, and then I would give her to the counselor who had the other babies, and off she would go with them. That happened for 2 summers. Then my husband said, oh, no, you can't keep going back and bringing Zoe with you. I'm going to come too. And then the 3 of us ended up going for several years. So I want to be the lifter-upper, right? Not the downing, the squashing person. So to prepare for this presentation, something I thought was a little daring, but I thought I'm going to go back to people that I think I am a mentor to them, and I'm going to ask them, what did I tell you? Tell me just one sentence, something that I said that sticks with you. And these are some of the things they said. And so I'll give you a second to just take a look at a couple. Something that I found really interesting about it was that there are a couple sort of one-liners, I remember you told me never to do blah, blah, blah. There were a couple of those. But for the most part, and I condensed these so they would fit on the screen, but people wrote a paragraph that had to do with how I made them feel and how I lived my life and how they watched me interact with other people. It was much more about our time together than any one thing that I said. And I realized that what really mattered to them was just that I was there. Just that there was someone who was really listening to what they wanted to talk about and what they cared about. That wasn't about me. All I cared about was their lives, what they needed, what their goals were. The truth is that I really don't see the role of mentor as some truth teller for people's lives. I don't see it as a fact checker, somebody who says, I've watched how you do that. I think you'd be better off doing this. Like that, I don't think that's the role of a mentor. Now I don't see it that way anymore. I fall more on the cheerleader side. I did not always feel like that, but I do now. Because, so I'm not suggesting that you would pretend that somebody's not competent, right? If they don't have talent, I'm not suggesting you would lie to them, but they'll figure that out. What they won't do for themselves, what we don't do for ourselves, is cheerlead ourselves. You need people to do that for you. And the older I get, the more I see the value in that. The truth is that, in a nutshell, I see being a mentor being Loretta and Irv. Loretta and Irv are my aunt and uncle. And actually, I'll tell you, this is my cousin Scott. And he's the son of Loretta and Irv. And I didn't know he was going to be here. So this was all put together before I knew he was coming. Just so you know, like I'm not just like, sucking up to Scott here. So they were my aunt and uncle. My aunt, actually today is my aunt's birthday. My uncle died a few years ago. But they were the people in my life who were always, always the voice of, you could do it. You should do it. You're the greatest to even try to do this. I could do like one little thing and my uncle would be like, she's the president of the company. She would be amazing. And he was always that person. The thing is, I never saw them as mentors. I just saw them as like family members who loved me. They're delusional because they love me so much. And that was really, it's a shame that I felt that way because they were giving me something that was so important. I belittled it and I shouldn't have belittled it. They were the voice of encouragement, the voice of I believe in you. And I think actually one of the reasons why I like this theme is because it has nothing to do with the title. It's not about experienced people who you go get advice from. It is about the interactions with the people who cheerlead the things that you want to do and how you can be that for others. Yeah, family can be your mentor. Your boss can be your mentor. The barista that you get your drink from could be your mentor. Your friends obviously can be your mentor. Your camp counselor could be your mentor. An AI bot could be a mentor for you. Another topic for another time. Mentors come in all different shapes and sizes, and they enter in different parts of our lives. So now these are some places where I feel like I am a mentor. So I am sort of, let's say, officially a mentor for my students. Right? That's part of my job, to be there for my students. The Children's Media Association has a mentorship program, and I've been a mentor with that program for a while. I've been a speaker in their mentor program for women in animation. And the last two things are groups that I started in Philadelphia. I think when I started them, I thought, we just need to get people together and network. But really, when people were together, what we were doing was mentoring one another. That's what we were doing, right? We were getting together to talk about the things we wanted to do, help each other to achieve those goals. So that's my why, right? That's why I like to do this. I ask you to think about that for you. Like, what is that why for you? If you want to even consider being a mentor, if you're thinking about being a mentee, like whatever that might be for you. Actually, the thinking about that for yourself, pondering that a little bit for yourself, how many of you are familiar with the concept of the 5 whys? You heard about the 5 whys? We've got like a couple nods in the room. I think the 5 whys really, so for folks who don't know about it, I mean, it started with like Plato and Aristotle and really thinking about reflecting and questioning about things. But eventually, Toyota, the person who ran the Toyota company, sort of instituted this within the Toyota company, and then some other executive coaches and people you can watch TED Talks on have done talks about the 5 whys. And the basic concept is that whatever you're doing, right, to really get at the root of why it matters to you or what the purpose is of that, you dig down for 5 whys. So you might say like, well, why am I here today? Oh, I was invited to come to speak to the group. Why? Because, Joe thought I would have something to say about mentorship. Why? Because she and I have actually met a few times, and that was probably from that. Why? Well, we met each other from some other group that, through the Children's Media Professionals group, actually. I totally forgot about that. Why? So it just kind of digs. And it might take you more than 5 whys to get to it or less, but it's the idea, right? It's something I think that can help you get at the core of what motivates you to do certain things or not, right? What's the deal breaker for you? And everybody's busy in life. So I want you to think about that for yourself. I have to say, for me now, I kind of look for every opportunity to be that cheerleader. Until I spoke this to you today, I wouldn't have said to you, I look for every opportunity to be a mentor. I wouldn't have framed it that way. I want to be that person. I want to be the person who says, you can do it. You should do it. Give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? Like, we just don't have enough of those voices in our lives. We're busy, we're running around doing a million things. We don't really focus in on what somebody else's needs are and have it be all about them, that give them a moment where it's really about what they need and help them to achieve that. Whether I think they'll ever achieve it at all isn't the point. The point is that actually trying, I know there is research about this that shows that even if you try and you fail, you're happier than if you never tried. So why do we need to be the voice of don't try? We should be the voice of try, right? Give it a shot. When I think about the times I have been a mentor to someone, what they really needed from me was encouragement. That was it. On the other hand, if you are someone who wants to find a mentor, I want to say to you that, like, no one, I'm making a bold statement here, but like no one doesn't want to know that you think they are amazing enough that you would want them to mentor you. That's never going to be a bad thing, even if that person says, I am too busy to be with, I don't have time, whatever it might be, it doesn't matter. Because that person now knows, A, that you are deeply committed to this thing that you want to do, and B, you think they're really smart about it. So even if nothing formal comes of it, you still have somebody who understands it. I think that's a win-win. So thinking about who those mentors can be and where you can find people in your life. So ask, right? That's my first thought about that. And to just think about the ways in which you can be that person. This is a picture of Greece. I was in Greece this summer, working. No, I was working though. I was with a group of students. So I do this, I participate in something that's called the Thessaloniki International Media Summer Academy. I like to be with kids and young people. Like, I just pretty much seeking out those places in my life. But the reason I'm showing you this now is because one of the activities and the projects they did do while they were there, we would make these videos, go out into the community and find somebody to talk to, whatever. And they talked to a street performer who said to them, God knows what the context was of this, but they got him on camera saying, are you alive enough to live your own life? And that sentence has really stuck with me. Because it can mean whatever, if you're sitting there thinking, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, it means whatever you want it to mean, right? It is an invitation to reflect on your life in some way. And actually, I think it's a mentor kind of sentence. It's a mentor question from the street performer. Everybody can be a mentor. Thank you.